In this video, I will examine the TV show Dirty John in relation to family trauma, specifically the effects of family trauma on adult relationships. Dirty John is a true crime TV show that aired on Netflix in 2018. The show is about an accomplished interior designer, Deborah Newell, who falls in love with a psychopathic swindler named John, who is only after her wealth. The show deals with the psychological fallout experienced by Deborah's children and family. It is based on a real-life story that occurred in the 2010s. In the show, John Meehan is a drug-addicted swindler who works as an anesthesia nurse. He steals anesthesia from patients who need it by pretending to give them the drug, only to secretly pocket it. This leaves his patients having to endure the pain of intense illness and procedures without anesthesia. The show portrays John using the medicine to get high, as well as selling it, revealing his psychopathy. He has a high propensity for promiscuity, scamming many women on dating apps before he eventually meets Deborah. He was raised by his father, who is also a swindler. In this nauseating flashback scene, his father forces John as a child to eat glass at a restaurant in order to extort money from the restaurant owner. This was only one of the many cons his father forced him to participate in, many of which included physical harm to John. Most victims of familial abuse would grow to abhor this behavior and refuse to continue it as an adult. John is one of those unfortunate cases in which the child grows up to be like the father, continuing the wretched tradition of deception and ruthlessness. In the show, it is clear that John Meehan is a terrible man. He and Deborah initially meet on a dating app. Although he's exceedingly underdressed and rude on the first date and many dates afterwards, Deborah continues to forgive him, no matter the severity of the disrespect. Deborah is the wealthy founder of a successful interior design company. John is solely after her money. After only 2 months, Deborah and John are hastily married in Vegas. There was no prenup, and no family members or friends attended this wedding, as Deborah's family would certainly disapprove of this given she had already been married 4 times and has a history of destructive relationships. When Deborah goes to see a lawyer to sort out their finances in a postnup, John is hostile to the lawyer and later privately threatens and harasses the lawyer. Although John is never physically abusive, he most certainly is emotionally abusive. He harasses Deborah's entire family in various ways, gaslights her, and is manipulative. The most accurate example of this would be this scene, where he physically threatens and intimidates Deborah. Although he does not outright hit her, he blocks doorways and intimidates her by verbally expressing his desire to physically harm her. In addition, he is caught stealing money many times. For instance, he claims to have put Deborah's cash savings of $80,000 in a bank safe, but when Deborah looks in the safe, there is no money to be found. When John is found out about this, he tells a clear lie to cover his tracks, claiming to have invested the money instead. John additionally lies about his job title, pretending to be a doctor when he is a nurse. He lies about being a veteran, claiming to work for Doctors Without Borders. He tells illustrious stories about this which are all fabricated. He pretends to have wealth and status when in reality, he is living out of an RV owned by his sister. His sister is a generous person. John takes advantage of her kindness and cares not at all for her well-being. John has a criminal past and has been arrested many times for fraud and drug-related crimes, but keeps this from Deborah as well. He cheated on his ex-wife with a richer woman, presumably to gain more money. When his ex-wife found out and confronted him about this, he laughed at her and was incredibly flippant. His mask fell off and his usual demeanor of false empathy and harmlessness turned sinister. He also feigned overcoming his drug addiction under Deborah's supervision, when in reality, he never did. Deborah is eventually made aware of all of these lies, still she stays. Why is this? The answer can be partially found in her family history. She was raised in a family that was all too forgiving of male misbehavior, something that is likely multi-generational. To show how madly forgiving her family is, we must examine the subplot of Deborah's sister Cindy. Cindy was in an unhappy marriage and wished to leave her husband. Cindy and Deborah's mother sided with Cindy's husband rather than Cindy, implying that she should put aside her own feelings for her husband's happiness. Soon after, the relationship deteriorates, and Cindy's husband murders her, while attempting to unalive himself as well. He is successful in unaliving his wife, but is unsuccessful in his attempt at his own life. Any rational person would assume that Deborah's mother would hate this man for murdering one of her children. But this woman is not of sound mind. She is so accepting of male misbehavior that she forgives him and makes close friends with him. During the murder trial, she states that, quote, she still loves him. She's a devout Christian, and the show points out a flaw in Christian thinking, that everyone should be forgiven no matter the transgression. During the court scene, she says, quote, Bobby did a terrible thing, the worst thing. I hate what he did. And I told him that I did. But if he had been in his right mind, he never would have done that. So what he did doesn't change what I believe about him. I still love Bobby, and I forgive him. End quote. There's a sort of naivety to her, a denial, and an overt willingness to accept misbehavior. A multi-generational trait, as Deborah exhibits the same while dealing with John. As a result, Deborah's youngest daughter, Tara, exhibits a similar attitude towards men. During this scene, Tara expresses to her mother that she believes that John may be able to stop using drugs and get his life together. Children too often take on the same outlooks on relationships and gender dynamics that their parents exhibit. To illustrate, if within a family dynamic, domestic abuse takes place, the children are more likely to subconsciously seek partners that exhibit this behavior as it feels familiar to them. They are additionally more tolerant of controlling and violent behavior. Children of abusive parents also tend to have lower self-esteem, which would result in them being more accepting of mistreatment. Furthermore, psychologist Sigmund Freud argued that people often seek partners that are similar to their opposite-sex parent. So if a woman grew up with a father who is emotionally abusive, she subconsciously is more likely to be drawn to men who are like this, though she will not consciously know that this is what she may be drawn to without the help of a therapist or without reading about psychology. In the book, How to Break Your Addiction to a Person, Howard Halpern argues that traumatized people who are drawn to toxic relationships are addicted to them in a way similar to other types of addictions like drugs or alcohol. In the show, we are not given a description of what Deborah's father was like, but it is plausible that he was not a man of integrity. That being said, the show is accurate in exhibiting that not all children are helpless in the face of their upbringing. In fact, according to psychologist Jordan B. Peterson, most children with abusive parents do not grow up to abuse their children, a testament to the resilience of the human condition. Deborah has married 4 times, which suggests a history of unhealthy relationships. Instead of mirroring her mother's patterns, Deborah's eldest daughter, Veronica, copes with the instability of her mother's relationships by being incredibly astute, vigilant, and having a rock-solid intuition. In many ways, being raised in a family like this made her defenses to con men stronger than if she had been raised in a typical family. This intuition defends her from unreliable men. The moment she meets John, she knows that there's something off about him, and expresses this to her mother. She is also the one that discovers John's past and uncovers all his lies, even going so far as to hire a private investigator. Instead of having the naivety of her grandmother, mother, and sister, she is careful and less nice.
You and Mom, you guys have the biggest hearts for the smallest of things. Sometimes I wish I was more like you guys. But I'm not, so.
This line is striking because it shows that in a perfect world, Deborah and Tara's overt kindness and naivety would not necessarily be a negative trait. However, as the world we live in is flawed, so are the people. In the world in which we live, it is better to be careful and discerning in who we give kindness to. Veronica is thus the wiser sister. Deborah's eldest son also exhibits no sign of the negative effects of generational trauma. He does not mirror the type of lying men of poor character that Deborah typically dates, stating that he is afraid of whatever John is, and does not want any of John's lies around his wife and children. He is immensely protective of them. He clearly values honesty, especially within family. Deborah's nephew, aka the son of her sister who is tragically murdered, is kind and empathetic. Unlike his father, he is reasonably minded, aiding Veronica in her investigation of John. When they find evidence of John's lies, he is the one who initially warns Deborah that John is not the man he claims to be. As alluded to earlier, John's sister takes on none of the traits of her father either. She is responsible, makes her money honestly, and is unselfish. Though it should be noted that Deborah's actions do take an emotional toll on her children. When Veronica gets a new job, she excels. Nevertheless, John sabotages her by harassing her workplace, making inappropriate phone calls to the people in her office. Tara also faces the emotional consequences of her mother's romance when she asks her mother to not introduce John to the children of the family, because she is afraid that when John eventually leaves, the children will blame themselves, like she did when she was young and witnessed her mother's many divorces. Her mother initially agrees, at least superficially, but then introduces John to the children anyways, causing emotional distress to Tara. Her grandmother, of course, is unsupportive of Tara and supportive of John, even going so far as to express anger at Tara for even suggesting that John be kept away from the children in the first place. John also makes cruel jokes to Deborah's nephew regarding the death of his mother, and spits on Veronica's birth certificate. The show concludes with John seeking revenge on Deborah by attempting to murder her youngest daughter, Tara. Tara fights back for her life, and succeeds by stabbing John with his own knife. When inquired by what was going on in her mind during the encounter, she replies with this:
Kill or be killed.
A striking line that summarizes the reality of self-preservation. John Meehan is the main antagonist, and rightfully so. And perhaps this will be an unpopular opinion in the modern internet age, yet it should be said that Deborah does bear some responsibility in all of this. After all, she is an adult who is capable of making her own decisions, and marrying a man within 2 months of meeting him was incredibly irresponsible. It would be one thing if she was childless and her reckless decisions only affected herself, but this was not the case. As a mother, she has a duty to make level-headed decisions for those she is responsible for. Though to the average person, this may seem like an easy task, this is not so. Given her family history, making the responsible decision to date an honorable man would mean breaking perhaps centuries of patterning. Breaking a centuries-old curse would be anything but easy or simple. Still, Deborah is responsible for not only herself, but her family. This does not excuse her behavior, and although it may be a mainstream opinion to blame everything on John Meehan and not hold Deborah accountable whatsoever, I would disagree with this. Unlike Deborah, John Meehan is detestable and a bad apple through and through. At the same time, given her history, Deborah should have taken precautions to protect her family from such a man. She should have listened to Veronica's warnings about all of the lies. Deborah was made aware of John's nature and still chose him over the well-being of her daughters. Like her mother, throughout the show, she consistently prioritized the happiness of a man over her daughters. Being a mother necessitates prioritizing your children above your husband. Doing any less often results in tragedy. It is possible to have empathy for a victim, but also hold her accountable for her actions. It was not Deborah's fault that John tried to take advantage of her, but the moment she was made aware of this, it was her responsibility to do everything she could to put her life in order and protect herself and her family from him. It is essential to mention the intense consequences of naivety. Every woman must know that there exists truly evil men in this world, men in which no amount of romantic love can fix. It is crucial to be able to see evil, look it in the eye, and acknowledge it for what it is, and know that no wishful thinking can will that evil away. I do not believe that the quote, "kill them with kindness," applies to every case, or even most cases for that matter, particularly when it comes to dealing with men in the arena of romance. Fighting fire with fire is a more appropriate method of handling bad men. There is a particular danger to women being raised on fairy tales and made to believe that everyone is good. The most essential book and movie genre, the most feminist one, is that of true crime, because it removes naivety and is perhaps the more real antithesis to fairy tales. We should, instead of raising our daughters on fairy tales, raise them on true crime. In closing, the show exemplifies why women should be more careful when online dating. It is also an excellent portrayal of the nuances of generational trauma and the effects of careless parenting. The true crime genre advises caution. Not only is the genre entertaining, it also in a way promotes character growth by making its viewers less blind to the depths of human depravity. a necessity in the era when dating apps reign. Prior to dating apps, people used to find romantic partners through their friends, which would mean that their romantic partners were already vetted and were reputable. The predicament with dating apps is that users don't know the reputations, or anything really, about the people on there, thus making it a less trustworthy source. Although it is the mainstream opinion to tell men to stop behaving badly rather than tell women to protect themselves, I do not think that telling men to stop behaving badly will actually work. People do not change unless they want to, especially bad men. The best option is harsher and longer prison sentences for men like this, while cautioning women to be vigilant. If you have a pattern of dating bad men, I would recommend reading the book How to Break Your Addiction to a Person by Howard Halpern. Learning why you are drawn to certain types of men will increase your self-awareness. Unless you become self-aware and can recognize your own destructive patterns and your subconscious reasons for having said patterns, you will not be able to break them. Knowing the real reasons behind certain feelings can convince you that those feelings should not be acted on. For example, abuse victims find themselves being drawn to men of low integrity because it feels familiar, and their nervous system has been rewired to seek toxicity. So, if you find yourself having feelings towards such a man, knowing that those feelings are because of unresolved trauma in your brain, rather than the merits of said man, can help convince you not to pursue a relationship with him. Many people find therapy useful as well, though books are uniquely useful because a therapist most likely will not give you all of the relevant information at once, like a book will. I am new to making video essays on YouTube, but I plan to make more soon, and consistently. If you enjoyed this video, please consider following me on Twitch as well. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.